The Entrepreneurial Hour is a weekly radio talk show hosted by Stephanie Cates and Robert Gultz that includes local South Florida business owners, subject matter experts, and industry leaders that recognize the need to share their knowledge with other businesses to help them start and grow their business. Join us Tuesday mornings, 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, online at Radio Unilatina USA. Follow us on social media at #The Entrepreneurial Hour.
Good morning. We are here again. It's another Tuesday morning, and we are in our hidden studio with the Entrepreneurial Hour. Today we're going to talk about IT, that's information technology, and we've got a lot of things that we're going to be covering. And before we start, I'm going to let our guests introduce themselves, and we'll start off to my right with Gary.
Hi, Gary Thompson, Innovative Concepts Computer Repair.
Okay.
Hi, David Betancourt, Netcom Solutions.
And so they're going to talk to us a little bit about IT and tell us the good things, the bad things, what we should prepare for, what we should watch out for our businesses. And that's where we're focusing on is our businesses today. So I guess I'm going to start with Gary on this. And Gary, if you can just talk a little bit about I'm going to Gary because one, I know Gary a little bit better, and the other aspect is Gary is old, and so I think Gary was here when the internet began and IT began. You have a lot of experience because from your background in the military and everything else. So all joking aside, I know you know your IT very well. So can you talk a little bit about IT and how it started off for business and some of the things that you find important for business in IT?
Well, with IT, we originally started with sharing information in between companies and states, actually. The military has developed what was called ARPANET, which is the military's ability to share information from one base to another, especially during a crisis. That eventually became public, and now businesses use it for sharing information. The problem is that the more we make our information accessible to other companies, hackers can get to it too. So we have a problem there.
And we're going to be talking about that probably in this third segment. We're going to want to really talk about that hacking aspect in there. David, talk a little bit about your background with IT and how you got in and what you see as some of the top issues for business.
Okay, I come from an operations background where I worked for an automotive group, Merrill Williamson Automotive Group, and I did that for 11 years. I was a parts director, but that's when IT started coming in, where we went away from green screens to computers to start now using technology to process orders and parts and things of that nature. And I was the only one that could figure out how to use the stuff. So that got me into management. They got me into now looking at ways to make it better. Now 13 years ago, I went out on my own, started my own business as a one-man shop, and I like helping people, and that's actually paid off because then we grew to an 11-person operation where we're managing clients proactively, and we use a lot of my operational skills and OCD, for lack of a better word, to help our clients.
Okay, so one of my first questions is when we're looking at information technology and setting up a business, when we're starting those first steps for any business, we'll start off with a small business. What types of things should a business really be looking at in technology? Because I've seen small businesses go to Sam's Club or Costco and buy their first computer and go, oh, this is going to make my business and grow and things of that nature. And that's not really what we're talking about for a small business. We're talking, when we're discussing businesses, it is about that connectivity. But what would you, that first starting aspect, what kinds of things should a business person be looking for in technology? And David, we'll start with you.
Well, the approach that we take is what's it going to do for you? So what's the goal? Because in life, when anything you do, it's what's the end goal and how you get there. So we look at leveraging technology to be an integral part of the business to get you to your goal. So if you're looking for our medical clients, if you're looking to see more patients, what technology can we plug in to help them be more efficient so they can see more patients? Our law firms, how can they be more billable? So what's important to them, it's what's important to us, and we implement technology to leverage the ability to be more productive. If they buy a computer at Costco, Dell, HP, we like to provide it because we like to know what we're going to plug in, but that's irrelevant for us.
So I'll throw this out to both of you. When you're dealing with a client that's starting a new business, is there a checklist that you guys go through saying, oh, you should use this, because I know in today's modern age, we have so many different, programs and tools and hardware and software, and it's probably something else that we should talk about, where I know a lot of people don't understand the difference between hardware and software, and in the old days everybody thought, oh, it was soft, that's why it was nice. But what types of things, when you're looking at helping a business start up, that you look for and you think are probably, let's give the top 5 items each that you think a business should be looking for when they're getting ready for and prepared for business?
Well, it depends on the business and what they want to do. So we always like to have the client decide on their line of business application. So most, depending on the vertical and what they're doing, they usually have experts in that area. So we'll like to help them figure out and be agnostic to what the pluses and minuses are of the different line of business applications, whether they're tracking time, whether they're inputting patient information, and help them guide through that. Now, as far as the infrastructure, once we figure that out, we'll figure out what other pieces do we need. Do we need servers? Are they on-site, off-site, in the cloud? What makes them more productive? We look at budgets as well to be able to figure out what's needed. It's not just let's buy a bunch of gear and plug it in. You have to kind of architect it, for lack of a better word.
Okay. Yeah, a couple of things we look at is that how do you ever back up your data? Some people use a external hard drive on the desk, and if you knock that over, sometimes it doesn't work anymore. So we like to put people on in the cloud, and if it's a doctor's office or dentist's office, we like to encrypt it properly so it's not hack up. Also, printing. You'll find that your color printers, if they're inkjet, are expensive to buy ink for. You have to do it so often. So a color laser may cost you a few more dollars to start out, but the cost per page printing down the road is a third.
Okay.
So we like to save money on the printing. And
so both of you brought up the aspect of the cloud. So for our listeners, can you each of you talk a little bit about the difference between having the server in your office, the pros and the cons of that, and then the pros and cons of going out into the cloud and using that? Because that seems almost everybody's almost pushing, it seems, everybody to the cloud. I know Microsoft and all of them are saying, hey, no more are we giving you hardware or software to keep on your computer anymore. You have to do everything in the cloud and use our S drives and Dropbox and all that kind of stuff. So let's talk a little bit about the differences between and the benefits and the weaknesses of having your server in-house or using cloud.
Well, in-house problems could be something simple as someone robbing your building, someone physically taking your server from you, or if there's a problem being online would be if your internet connection goes down for any reason, or it's not fast enough for your services. It's true that Microsoft and other companies are pushing us to use cloud-based services, but I'm finding for startups that sometimes isn't really practical because there's always a monthly fee involved with that, and startups sometimes have a problem justifying that.
Oh, we're very similar in the same. So it depends on what they want to do. We have locations that have multiple sites. So if you're starting out with multiple satellite offices, you either want to be in a data center or harden the one facility that's hardening that stores your data. Because if that site goes down, all your other sites go down. So at one point, if you're a growing company and you have a couple offices and you start growing, we have locations that grow all the time. At one point, we have to either look at pushing you into the cloud or relocating your data, your hardware to a co-location, a hardened facility. In today's world, you have to start doing the numbers, because a lot of times when you're buying the equipment, yeah, you own it, but you have to continue to maintain it as far as hardware maintenance, warranties. You have to have the footprint in a co-location to store it. With the virtual environments today in the cloud, you can spin up a server at any time and a whole virtual infrastructure. And that's usually the most cost-effective way to be in the cloud. But there are a lot of security concerns. You have to make sure that you're hardening your security with VPNs, two-factor authentication. You still have to maintain backups the same way you would on-prem. You want to do incremental. Just because you're in the cloud doesn't mean that your data is completely safe. You still have to be able to incrementally back your data up. And we like to do that and store it somewhere else even, so that it's in a different location.
Do you see in today's world, when we're dealing a lot more with consultants, seems like that's where the world is going to, is a consultant world, where no one really works at an office anymore. They're working out of their home. That even for most that, and I saw this, I think it was at Starbucks or one of the other coffee shops this past week. This guy comes out, puts out his laptop, puts out other pieces. He has like 4 or 5 pieces of electronics on his desk. When I looked at him, I'm like going, wow, I know I can do almost everything that he's doing, but I do all mine in the cloud, and I don't have all these extra things. Where do you see most people go to when they're starting off? Are they going to the cloud, or are they trying to keep that internal server aspect? And
it would depend on if they're going to be one particular site and to start small, maybe one employee. I see them doing it locally, and like what David mentioned, is that if they're going to have 3 or 4 locations, the cloud's the way to go, and hiring him to put you in the cloud and keep you secure.
Okay, excellent.
What bothers me about that guy that put all that stuff out at Starbucks is that he's probably using the public Wi-Fi, and if he's not, he doesn't have security on his machines, he's definitely getting hacked. I mean, that's what the hackers do. They sit at Starbucks right next to him. He could have been a hacker, technically.
Wow. Okay. We're going to take a break in just a minute, but before that starts, we have a lot of things to talk about with you in today's modern world, but we're going to open up the next aspect, talking a little bit more about security of computers on different levels, from the individual level to the corporate level, and what you should be looking for. But right now we're going to just take a couple-minute break, and we'll be right back here with the Entrepreneur Hour.
Unilatina International College with campus in Miramar, Florida is a boutique college with focus on entrepreneurship. UIC offers associate and bachelor degree programs in business, tourism, and communications and media. Associate degree students develop their business plan while studying at UIC. Dream, learn, and grow. Join now our business incubator. Learn more at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344.
The Entrepreneurial Hour with Stephanie Cates and Robert Goltz.
We're back, and we're really focused right now on talking about IT and security for this section of the segment of our program. So let's talk about security. There's so many things that are going on out there. It seems like every week, if not every day, we're hearing something new about phishing, phishing, malware, all this kind of stuff. Let's take each one of these pieces down one by one, and let's start off. Let's start off with the home computer aspect, and what seems to be the biggest challenge in security for a home computer.
Actually, it's the phishing emails or pop-up will happen and say, "Oh, you need to do a Java update, or you need to update this." And people unknowingly just click on it, and it's not from Java. It's not from Oracle. So what I tell my clients is, if you want to do a Java update, just go to java.com and do the update. If it was a legitimate request for an update, it'll take care of it. If it pops back up again, you know it was malware.
Yeah, it seems like right now you're getting people need to be, especially business people, because I get them all the time, getting emails from PayPal and other things, and they really have to watch. And these individuals are getting a lot better, making the email almost look exactly like the corporate email. And so for for business, it's hard. I have 4 employees, and when they get these emails, they don't know if they should be updating or not, and most of them don't want to look stupid and ask. How do you take care of, and is there some way to really watch for that to come through, or some way to really block that from coming through to your employees?
So to Gary's point, a lot of that happens now where you have updates that pop up that technically are some kind of malware of some sort that wants you to click on something to execute. For our clients, when we're managing our clients pay us to not have problems and not have issues. So it's almost like an insurance policy to say be proactive and take care of these things. Part of that is we proactively update machines every week. All their computers, it's mandatory. We have a schedule where they have to keep them on overnight. Our servers are also done once every 3 weeks based on Microsoft's update schedule. We take it a step further and we also update because for us, we are more profitable when we have less calls come in from our clients. So we don't want somebody calling in with a Java pop-up. So we take it a step further and we do all the third-party updates, which is also good for Gary's point of Java popping up. It's taken care of. So the worker comes in and they just go to work. They don't have pop-ups of updates, Adobe updates, the browser updates. We handle all that proactively after hours so that those things don't pop up and doesn't put them in trouble or get them in trouble. From an email perspective, you can filter as much as you want, but they've gotten really, really good. They must be training classes overseas somewhere on how to really get to people because they're very believable. They mask themselves as Office 365 or Microsoft or UPS.com or PayPal, like you've seen. It's just to be very, very. Don't click on things like you used to. People used to not even read a box that would pop up, and they would just click on something. So read it. If it doesn't make sense, it's probably fake.
Yeah. And the worst case scenario is that PayPal sends you a email for your information. Calling PayPal's the proper thing to do.
Yeah, because I know I've noticed a lot of companies now, including ours, we ended up saying anything that'd be downloaded has to come through the admin. And even me, I'm in charge of the organization. I'm the top dog, and I don't have the admin password. Only my computer guys do. And they laugh. They go, I got all this stuff coming through. I want to make sure that it's being updated properly, and they take care of it most of the time. But again, those emails come through, and you want to click on it. And luckily for majority of them, what we find is when we click on them, it says only admin can open up this type of piece on there. So let's talk about malware, because I know that still seems to be one that puts a small business down, more so than other things where that are going on. Let's talk a little bit about malware, how to watch for it, and what malware actually does to our computers.
Malware actually is just a software that actually hinders your machine. It'll slow you down or knock you down. So there's a program that we like to use called Malware Bytes, and having that running on your machine tends to catch most of the malware. It's a free download, but to actually get it to run properly, you have to license it. But my clients really enjoy that because it catches almost everything.
We use the same. We use WebRoot is standard across all of our endpoints, and then we also layer Malware Bytes, especially for the targeted. We have certain clients that are targeted more so, right? That have patient information or social security that they store. So from a compliance, so the hackers know this, right? They know they target a lot of these clients. So if they're a bigger target, we layer more security. Security properly done is done in layers. There's not one application that's going to solve all your security problems. It's always done in layers, from a gateway antivirus or anti-packet sniffing or at your firewall level to now at the desktop level. Using Malware Bytes will catch things that WebRoot doesn't, and WebRoot's caught things that Malware Bytes does. Having two, and they both work well together. Back in the day, I'm sure Gary could tell you these stories that we went through. Back in the day, if you had two antiviruses or two things running on one machine, it would kill the machine. These two things, it looks like they were designed to work together, which is great for us. And we have another product that's even higher level that's being used. It's called SentinelOne, which is it's like Amazon uses this in their own environments. But that's when you're really a big target, and we have some PCI compliance that we have to look at.
So for many small businesses, insurance agents, lawyers, 1 or 2 lawyers, they a lot of them don't invest in IT professionals. They think they can take care of it all. And what's even happening larger now, and this is mostly for government entities and things of that nature, but for small businesses, for those early college hackers, where they're locking up the data or stealing the data for ransom. And you're seeing a lot of that going on nationally now, and things of that nature. So talk to me a little bit about how can someone block that, because when I was setting up our with our IT going through, we have a firewall and another wall, and then we've got I feel like I spent probably thousands and thousands of dollars for all these blocking aspects. Right. And then I'm still getting some of it, and that's why I had to have an IT person, because I knew I could buy all that one time, but it needs the benefit of having gentlemen like you. It still needs massaging all the time with all the new changes. So tell me a little bit about that for a small business, what they can anticipate as they're moving forward, and that ransomware aspect.
Right. So to your point, it's not set it and forget it. You can't just go buy the gear and plug it in and it's done. So firewalls are the starting point for us. If we go into any environment that it's using their Comcast modem or their ISP modem as they think that's the firewall, that's not a firewall. It's not a smart device. It's made for its intention, and that's it. So you have to put a firewall behind it. But firewalls, we don't even call them firewalls anymore. They're unified threat management devices. So what the firewall now does, besides the firewalling aspect, we layer licensing in there that's inspecting packets. The firewall that we deploy will take, and if you have a download and you start downloading, it will take it, and in the cloud through this licensing model, it'll take and deploy the actual executable or the application and detonate it in a virtual environment, and it takes seconds to do this. And then if it's malware, it stops it, or any kind of ransomware or anything, it'll stop it. If it's not, it'll continue your download. So we're taking it out of the environment to deploy and run prior to you getting it is a huge step for us in stopping the ransomware. Having the security at the desktop, very important. Maintaining it, keeping an eye on it, looking at it, that's the things that we do proactively so people don't have issues, is very, very, very important. Backup at the end of the day is the most important thing to have, right? Even if you have all your layered security, if you don't have a good, proper backup, it's standard. We don't take on a client unless we put in our device, which does hourly backups or even down to even 15-minute increments. It stores it locally and then sends it securely off into the cloud, and we'll have 2 or 3 months retention, because you can't rely on daily backups anymore. That doesn't exist. Like if you have hours and hours and hours of work, you have something deploy at 4 PM, your backup runs at 6, you've lost a whole day's worth of work. We've had instances where people have come in with a USB drive, plugged it into a machine, and Webroot missed it, Malwarebytes missed it, and it deployed ransomware. And it locked up network drives. So if you have access to network drives, it will lock and encrypt those. We were able to restore back from like 20 minutes before, because that's the increment that the backup is running, and we were able to restore back. Nobody lost any work. We were back to normal. We don't pay a ransom.
Yeah, on the ransomware side, even if you have external hard drives plugged in your machine or network drives, they're affected too. So off-site storage is very important to us. Also, sometimes you can set up what's called shadow copies of the directories, and it'll make a backup copy on the machine itself. And we're able to go in and just restore those backup copies on the machine, and it's a quicker way of getting back up and running. Right.
To Gary's point, we had somebody that was referred to us that got hit by ransomware, and their backups were a share. So they had a whole elaborate SAN or NAS device with all the software, but the way it was set up, it was a share. So it was like another drive letter. Well, with ransomware, it encrypts everything that it has access to. So you want a device or something on site that is password protected to back up to another device so that you can't access it through a share and then send that into the cloud. That's the way you're going to protect yourself from ransomware.
Excellent. we're looking at making sure our computers are secure, so they don't, what are some of the best practices that an individual user can do to stop some of this? And I ask that because as soon as I'm asking it, I know you guys are going to probably say something that I automatically don't do. And I probably break the rule that I probably should be going by, but I want to know what are some of the best practices to keep away from those things happening to my computer. What can I do on a daily basis?
Use it for work and keep your home stuff on your home machine. You know, that's usually the biggest culprit is when people start doing surfing of other websites and you get injections of you go into a site that you thought you were shopping. You search through Google, it's a shopping site. You're searching for XYZ and it takes you to a website that's literally injecting stuff or trying to inject stuff on the machine. We try to protect that from at the firewall level, which is not a firewall anymore, right? We talked about that. We also do content filtering, so web filtering, to lock down only the websites that the users need to get to. If they want to go on shopping websites, what they do now is they just go on their phone, right? We can't really stop that as much today as we used to. So people, from a productivity standpoint, people are going to use their phone to go online, use their cell phone data to shop, but do it on your phone. That's fine. Keep your corporate network for the corporate network. Managing your...
So I need to stop shopping, going on the dating sites. Oh, my whole day's lost now. I have too much work to do. It's too much work productivity going on. What about with you, Gary? What do you think?
I think changing passwords and security after a person is terminated or leaves your business.
Oh, it's mandatory. Yeah.
Also, if your router's set up, make sure it's set up, the wireless is set up properly, so the guest account really is a guest account. I had a client last week who had just said, "Oh, I have 2.4 and 5.0." He made one circuit guest. He put the word guest in, and the other one. So he gave the guest complete full access to his server and everything. Didn't realize it. He just thought he was going to make it a guest account. He didn't know there was actually a physical difference in how we set that up.
Right.
So, and is that the same way with your Wi-Fi, that you want to have a separate dedicated line?
Well, what you want to do is for the Wi-Fi is there's a good wireless router will have a guest account availability. You can click it and it'll have a guest account for you that people can use and have no access to anything else on your network.
Okay, excellent. Fun to hear that. So let me tell you, I'll tell you what I go through and just tell me if I'm doing it wrong. First of all, passwords, I already know I'm screwing up on passwords. My password is the same for everything that I use, and that's because I forget things, and I know my staff goes nuts, and I don't keep it secure, so that's the other aspect for me, and I know that I need to start doing that. What about turning on and off your computer every day? Is it a good, I know it used to be you had to turn your computer off during the day and then it'd recycle and everything. What about with today's computers? Is that important, or they can just stay up? And
that's the $6 million question, because I say leave it on. Some people say turn them off.
I say turn them off occasionally, because there's some maintenance that goes on in the background. Temporary files are deleted, things are reorganized. It makes the machine run a little bit faster sometimes. So it's rebooting it at some point. But leaving it off all the time is not necessary anymore, because we have UPS for battery power protection, and there may be a situation where you want to dial in from your house, and your computer being up may be important for that.
So leaving my computer on doesn't leave it in for the hackers to go into my what's it called now, the
UTM.
The UTM should block anything from them coming in.
Correct. So for remote users, we like to either have a VPN and two-factor authentication. So two-factor authentication today is like a standard for us, and you have to have that to get remote access. But leaving the machine on, and I say that from a selfish standpoint, because I want people to leave them on, because if not, they continue to shut them off when we're trying to do maintenance. And then the machine misses a maintenance. And then we have to call them and say, can you turn your machine on? And now we have to interrupt them throughout the day to run patches and updates. Because Microsoft could have come up with a patch for a vulnerability that came out last week. You want to make sure that you're up to date with your patches. So, for us, and from a selfish standpoint, we don't want to call that they had an issue. We want to proactively hit it and take care of it.
Excellent. Well, we're going to take another break. We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to the Entrepreneur Hour here with Robert Goltz. Stephanie's out, but she'll be back next week.
Latina International College with a campus in Miramar, Florida, is a boutique college with an applied, cutting-edge holistic education model. Business, tourism, and communication students not only develop their field intellectual skills, but also are empowered to become holistic professionals through yoga, self-empowerment, Tai Chi courses, and more. Sign up to become a holistic professional at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344.
The Entrepreneurial Hour, shining light on the Tri-Chamber members. The Entrepreneurial Hour is sponsored by the Miramar Pembroke Pines Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Western Florida Chamber of Commerce, and the Pembroke Park, West Park Chamber of Commerce.
You're back with Robert Goltz on the Entrepreneurial Hour. We're talking about IT, and we've talked a little bit about security. We've talked a little bit about malware and ransomware and things of that nature. What I want to do is, we were just during the break kind of talking that there's so many stories and stuff, and I'd like to hear a little bit and give each one of you an opportunity to tell me about the worst issue that you had with IT, and also not just the worst issue, because I know I'll laugh about people, but how you fixed it and what they could have done to prevent it in that. So, Gary, we'll start with you.
The one that pops out right now is there was a store that does license plate renewal and some other type of things with DMV, and they opened up an email that didn't look right, but it said it was from the DMV. And they clicked on the link, and they were locked out of everything. I had just taken them on as a client. I hadn't had a chance to go in and really refresh everything and make sure things are proper. And all the machines in one instant were all locked out. They called me up because they couldn't even go to work. They couldn't print anything. There were people standing in line. They couldn't help them. So I ran over there. Luckily, they had shadow copies and turned on their machines, and I was able to put the machines back in functional order within the hour. But that just blew my mind that they could just click on one link and every computer in the building just shut down.
Wow.
Within the hour. Just one after the other.
And it was just a shutdown. It wasn't a grab or a steal or anything.
Yeah, it was just a lockout. They were just locked out of all their records.
And it's all because one person clicked on something
in the business, but because things weren't shared properly, the security wasn't in place. I had just taken them on as a client. They were a client like for 24 hours. I had just signed a contract, and next day I get this call. We're down.
Okay.
I don't know where to start. We've had from people that have called us that we've done some work for in the past. From a reactive standpoint, that they didn't want to back up, or they thought they had a backup with a USB. We weren't managing any of it, but there was just somebody referred us. We went and we fixed something for them 2 years ago, and we haven't heard from them since. And they thought they had redundancy. Somebody put in their head that when you have multiple hard drives in a server, that you've got a backup, and that's a misconception, because that's just redundancy on the server with multiple drives. But if you lose two drives, depending on how it's set up from the configuration state, if you lose more than one drive, you've lost all your data. That happened to somebody. And luckily, the USB drive had been backing up for a year since we originally set it up for them, but we weren't managing it. It had stopped working 2 months prior, so they lost 2 months worth of data. But they were able to continue to operate. QuickBooks is usually the most important piece, because everything else is paper somewhere. Well, this was a couple years ago. Today, everything's electronic, so they would have been in worse shape today. They had some paper to back them up. They had to rebuild their QuickBooks via bank statements, so that took a few months to get that done. We've had where Dell's come in and to replace parts on a server and really put a wrench in it, like literally pull drives and screw up the data. Luckily, we've had backups to be able to restore to. The client was down a few extra hours, but we usually like to manage that, so it's a learning lesson for us. Now we'll send one of our engineers out to make sure that the Dell tech is not putting his finger in the wrong place. So people think when they're buying a server, I have Dell support. Well, Dell, the guy that comes out there, he don't care about your business. He's just going to do whatever he wants to do, and he runs out. And if there's a problem, you call Dell to tell you, we'll just restore from backup. These are things that people don't really know. We've had locations where they were running very inefficiently because they didn't have a proper network structure with credentials, and people had access to everything. And we found out after discovery that people had access to payroll files, HR files, so they were non-compliant from a handful of things. And there was people taking information. There was people taking sales information from a sales list that they had and selling it. Didn't even know that. So we had to go in and rebuild everything and restructure it and secure it and made them more efficient. Usually when we go in and we take the approach of lifting up every rock to look underneath it, we'll usually find things all the time in any place we go.
In today's world, we seem to continue to be moving forward in technology. You know, it doesn't seem, and I hate to say it this way, the old business model of brick and mortar things are no longer really something anyone looks at. It's everything we do, it's technology aspect. We're bringing in more technology to make sure that we have the things that we need. And as we grow in technology, what I find is we become still very segmented in technology. So I've had instance where I have a copier guy who believes he knows about technology. My phone system all now comes and integrates into my IT. And when they come in there, the first question I always ask now is, do I need to have my IT guy here when you're there? And they go, oh, no, this is an easy installation.
Never.
And before he's done with that installation, half my system's down. I still have to bring my IT guy to fix things because of the differences from my system to compare to somebody else's system. So let's talk about the importance of having an IT specialist compared to someone even for a small company. I know, Gary, you specialize in that small company aspect, that it's affordable and you can help them out and you're there. For the small, and so many small companies say, oh, I don't need that IT. I have enough knowledge to turn it on, and I can fix it myself because I can go to Google and figure it out if it needs to be fixed. But I do. I see these copy companies and all these other technologies, or even with software. We may end up bringing in software, and all of a sudden it's not compatible with something else. And things of that nature. So let's talk a little bit about that. What, as a business, as I'm setting up, what type of people do I need to have in my business to take care of everything? And how important really is it? I could be over-exaggerating my issues. How important is it to have that IT specialist and there when these things are going on? And what times should I have those people there?
Well, okay, so to answer that question, you want to have the same way a larger corporation has an IT department. So even if you're the CFO, CEO, and you're going to think about bringing in some new application, the IT manager or person is there to make sure that it gets handled correctly. We do that for our clients. So a big portion of what we do, and a lot of our help desk tickets are vendor-related tickets, where we're working with the phone provider, we're working with the ISP, we're working with the copier company because they're looking at refreshing machines. We want to be the guy involved from the beginning and not come up to pick up the pieces at the end. It's much cleaner. It takes that burden away from the client to have to deal with stuff that they don't know anything about. So we can go in there and make sure that everything's being done right. We have projects going on right now with clients that are changing the ERP system, and they call us first. Hey, we're thinking about doing this. Okay, great. We'll get involved right now. They're thinking about moving. We do a lot of office moves where we have to be in way before they sign a lease, because we want to make sure that you have the right ISP, that it's available, the cabling, because we do that as well. So we'll go and manage the infrastructure. We'll do turnkey moves, moving the equipment, moving everything in schedule so that the client can focus on their business and not worrying about those type of things. So to answer the core question is, if you can have somebody there to spearhead that, it's usually the best solution or the best scenario.
Excellent. I couldn't tell how many times I've gone back to a site where they've changed to a VoIP system or something that requires direct internet access, and they've turned off the firewall and they've turned off the protection just to make their jobs easier to get out to the internet. And I walk in, security is not there, and then we have a conversation. I fix everything. But sometimes a third-party person doesn't care as much as we do about the security and the firewall and the other settings. So I like to be there when it's done.
Yeah. So when I look at my IT guy, whenever I'm doing something, he's one of those first conversations I have. I know a lot, but again, I also know what I don't know. And so we've had issues where, and most people don't understand, they get upset at Comcast because of speed. Oh, I bought the highest speed, and then next thing you know, because I have a VoIP system, we had a stranglehold on a percentage of what was coming in. And it was set as a percentage, not as just a certain band. And what ended up happening, we upgraded because our system was running slow. And what ended up happening when we upgraded, it took more of our bandwidth because it did a percentage. And our systems actually went slower. But the issue was we didn't talk to our IT guy ahead of time before we started making those changes. And that seems to be a way of a lot of people. You know, when you go back into your back office and you see all the wires, and you just start plugging here and there, going, oh, if I keep plugging, sooner or later this thing's going to work. Not necessarily true with these systems now, because everything's so integrated now.
Everything is integrated. And from a voice over IP system, we do them all the time. We've got the managing of these conversions really down because we've done so many of them. I'll give you an example. We have clients that have gone to a system thinking that because Comcast sold it, AT&T or some other provider went in knocking on the door and sold them a VoIP system that's going to solve all their problems, to cause more problems. The same way you mentioned that, because now you're not running over regular phone lines and converting, you're running over the internet. So if you don't have the proper redundancy, any VoIP system that we put in has to have redundancy, whether it's a T1 or another provider, so we can manage the quality of service, because you don't want it to be worse than what you had. We also look at a phone system, which is a great example of how we help with some of the efficiencies. We don't look at just replacing it. We look at how can we, when replacing it, make it work for the business. Call flow. So we'll work up a whole call flow diagram. We've done in some instances where we've actually relieved the call volume to people that they were paying to have multiple people as operators, because we were able to distribute it either via an auto attendant or prompts, where we've gotten the call where it needs to go and then converted it either to an email or something of that nature where the call volume is reduced, which intend to reduce having somebody, two full-time people. Now you have one full, one part-time, so you haven't used to do something else. Reducing payroll costs, which is every business owner's biggest expense, pretty much. So, again, that's an example of leveraging technology, but also making sure that you have redundancy and it's solid.
Yeah, I love it when our system goes down, because we have, it's just, well, it's funny in the aspect, because when our system goes down, the first time it went down, you want to make phone calls, and we have a VoIP system. Well, when the internet's down, so are my phones. And so then I have to try to figure out how to get a hold of Comcast. And the first thing Comcast says is, oh, check it out on the website. Well, no, you don't understand. I'm down right now. I can't get to your website. So in the technology aspect today, not having redundancy, not having that backup system really can put a whole organization down quickly. I know during the hurricane, so many people were down, and they're like going, oh, I don't have phones. Well, yeah, you don't have phones, but your neighbor might have phones because he's using Hardline. In that aspect, as we're getting prepared for the future, we're going to take another break and then come back. But when we come back, what I want to talk about is, let's talk about emergency preparedness. What are some of the best things to do and some of the myths that are out there? Because we are in hurricane season now. And let's talk a little bit about those before we close up today.
Uni Latina International College offers an English as a second language program for international students. UIC's high qualified ESL teachers help students develop and master the English speaking and comprehension skills needed for both work and pleasure. Our ESL program also focuses on cultural adaptation through fun field trips and cultural experiences. Start your journey today at unilatina.edu/ESL or call 954-607-4344.
The Entrepreneurial Hour is a weekly radio talk show hosted by Stephanie Cates and Robert Gultz that includes local South Florida business owners, subject matter experts, and industry leaders that recognize the need to share their knowledge with other businesses to help them start and grow their business. Join us Tuesday mornings, 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, online at Radio Unilatina USA. Follow us on social media at #The Entrepreneurial Hour.
This hour always goes so fast, and we are in the last segment of the show talking about IT, and we're going to talk for probably the next few minutes regarding getting prepared for disaster with IT. And so I'm going to have the gentleman talk to us a little bit of some of the preparations we can get ready. And first thing we'll start off, because we are in South Florida, and really the island areas, and a heavy hurricane aspect here. What kinds of preparations should we be making on a daily basis? Because a lot of times, again, the best thing from the north, so the best thing about a hurricane, if there can ever be a best thing about a hurricane, is I know it's coming. I get a couple days notice before I get hit with it. What do I want to do at the beginning, and what things do I want to make sure are in line? And I'll start with Gary on that.
Actually, if you know a hurricane's coming and you're thinking about shutting down your office, pick everything off the floor. Don't let computers or UPSs or anything sit on the floor itself, because you could have a little flooding. That can ruin your day when you get back. Also, make sure your backups are current. And if you have a VoIP phone, take one with you, because you can plug it in any hotel and it'll work just like yours.
Okay, excellent. That's good news.
To add to Gary, the same thing. If you have a VoIP platform, you can use an app even on your phone to tie in if you have the feature. Backups are the most important thing. This last hurricane that came around, our team was scheduling what our clients went to shut down. We like to shut down because we're going to have brownouts. So even if we don't get a full Cat 3 or 4, even a Cat 2, you're going to get power loss. So we were scheduling to shut down servers. All of our servers out there, even if they're on-premise, which is great about the cloud because you don't have to worry about it, but if you're on-premise, we're able to shut them down remotely and start them back up remotely without having to be there. It's mandatory for us when we're putting in a server, so that we could take care of clients and shut down their servers and then turn them back on. Because what happens is after the storm, people don't go right back to the office. If they have power, they sometimes will be at home for a day, but they want to continue to work. So we give them still the remote access. Now, again, this is all if the internet's up and the firewall is able to be accessed and stuff. But that's usually important for us to be able to schedule, have a plan. It's basically what I tell our clients. We need to have a plan. Everybody's different. But just an outline as to what do we do prior to prepare. Like Gary said, put everything off the floor, unplug stuff if you can. If you want to be able to remote into your machine afterwards, you want to leave it on, but make sure you're plugged into a UPS so that you don't get that surge of power, because that's what will destroy your machine. And bag things. If you can put plastic over monitors and things of that nature. We've had locations have water leaks, and even if it was off the floor, things just were getting wet, and we've had plastic. It was funny because I was still working for Vera Cadillac when we had that hurricane back in, what was it, 2006, 2007?
Wilma? Before my time.
Wilma. I'm sorry. Wilma. It peeled off the roof up in the accounting office, and we had plastic on a lot of the computers, and things were off the floor. I went on a Sunday, I remember, to go lift, because I was doing IT there too, so I went on a Sunday, lifted everything off the floor. That storm came. We got lucky. The IT room is upstairs, and that didn't get wet. The panels got wet, but it's like almost got saved because we didn't really put plastic over that stuff. Luckily, we had backups, and I went and made sure we had a good backup at the end of the day. But back then, we were doing daily backups. Mm-hmm. Now we want to make sure backups are good, like Gary said.
What phone numbers should we even keep a list of phone numbers for things for IT? I know at our office we have a book for disaster that covers everything underneath the sun, but is it a smart aspect to make sure that you have all that information so as soon as the weather gets over, you call everybody to come in, and at least, because I know as an IT provider, you may not have all of my information because you've got 100, 200, 300 other clients. Mm-hmm. But should I keep a list of who I'm using my cable from, all those different things to make it easier for you when you come in?
We have, for our clients, we have all the vendors listed. So part of our onboarding process for our client is to update all that. Account numbers, we'll have your Comcast account number, we'll have your ISP, or your T1 if you have one, your VoIP provider. We have all those account information with all that already documented in our system that's in the cloud. And we, prior to part of our preparedness plan in our office is to contact every client days before to schedule the turnoffs if we need to, and also who is our best point of contact and a backup, so we can reach via cell phone. So if we have to have them go on site for whatever reason to open the door or communicate to them when we're going to turn the servers back on or shut off, we update that, and we go into hurricane mode, as I call it in the office, and we have resources just dedicated to updating that information very quickly.
Excellent. So let me, we have a VoIP system, and almost all of our, I think everything that we have is all in the cloud. Our servers in the cloud, everything, which made it easy for us for the hurricane. We've also been able to, and tell me if I'm too, because I may be using my system not correctly. One of the benefits that we found with it is that we don't have to buy heavy-duty computers anymore, because everything's stored up in the cloud. I can get away with a cheap laptop and still be able to do almost everything I want to now in that process. But the big benefit was during the hurricane, we had 3 laptops out of the 5, and we each grabbed our laptop, a phone, and we hooked up everything at our homes. Everything was still operational. And is that a cheaper way to go out now, where in the past you would buy these heavy-duty computers, and then for some of us who aren't tech-savvy didn't realize that we didn't need that because everything was out in the cloud? How do we make that decision? If you're out in the cloud, do you need a heavy-duty computer, or how does it...
It depends.
Okay.
Right? It depends, but what you're doing is you're shifting your compute power into the cloud desktop. So you have a desktop in the cloud. Yeah. You're shifting it there versus having it local.
So really I'm only using the website as my computer.
As an access portal. So we have a lot of clients where we'll have what's called a thin client, which is just a small little box that gets them a screen to their cloud desktop. And it works the same. So it doesn't really need a whole lot of power because you're not using local. That certain industries you need to have a local machine. So if you're an architect firm or something that you're using heavily graphic design type work, you still need that local compute power, and you probably wouldn't be a candidate for being in the cloud altogether. But
what I'm finding is a lot of my clients don't need the power anymore, and we're able to go in and refurbish all their laptops with a small solid-state hard drive, which is available locally from many stores for under $100. And we can refurbish a laptop, make it run faster than brand new for less than $100 in parts.
Wow. Yeah, again, the technology just keeps on changing things. We're at 11:23. What I want to do is to talk, have each one of you talk a little bit about your companies. Give us your name, the name of your company, and things, and how they can get a hold of you. And one solid tip in IT that maybe they don't know that they could implement very easily.
I'm Gary Thompson. I have Innovative Concepts Computer Repair in Weston, Florida. My direct line is 954-854-6444, and I think the easiest thing to do is to back up your system. There are several companies out there, like Carbonite, Mozy, and iDrive. They'll let you back up most of your machine for free when you first start using it. And then the cost is only like $1 a week. And you can back up your machines and your laptops and your iPhones all in one account, and it'll constantly back itself up. That's not for HIPAA compliance, by the way. That's just for your own personal backup. I wouldn't use that for any type of corporate data. We'd have to go to David for that.
If you're, so let me ask you a follow-up question on that. If you're already in the cloud, is it important for you also to do a backup with one of those companies also, or does the cloud cover that?
The cloud probably covers most of it, but what you can do with the iDrive and Carbonite and Mozy is you can actually make an image backup of your hard drive. So if you drop your laptop in the boot, you can call them and they'll restore your hard drive the way it was.
Okay, so it's more for the computer, the hard computer that you have with you. Excellent.
David Betancourt, Netcom Solutions. We've been in business for 13 years. We're out of Miramar, Florida. We have a team of solid guys, been with us for a long time. Our ideal client is somebody who embraces technology and wants to use it to leverage it to grow their business or maintain or increase workflow in their business. We try to take everything from the person that's dealing with the issues and handle it holistically. We also don't have, like other companies out there, we have an approach that's a little different, and I could be here for an hour explaining it, what makes us different, but my contact number is 954-668-2400 is my office line. I also get my cell phone. All my clients have it, and they can reach me at any time. 954-802-0305. It's my cell. The tip that I would give is backup is the most important. We preach that in our office. Anything can go wrong. You can have a fire. We've had clients where a pipe has busted above them, in the floor above them, and their IT room got drenched. Our backups are image-based backups. It takes a full image every hour or less if needed of the server. It copies that into the cloud. We can pull it at any time and get you back up and running. We can take those images and run them on a laptop and get you back up and running. We do free network assessments and free technology security assessments just to give a client an idea of what they have. Even if you have an IT guy right now or a company and you think you're good, it's always good to get a second opinion, especially in today's age with security being at the top of mind and all the breaches that are happening to Target and Sony and all the other places that you think are solid. Equifax. I mean, it's just, if somebody wants to get in, they're going to get in. And layering security is very important as well. Keep yourself protected. Before it was about, how do we get things to work without breaking? Now it's about how do you protect yourself from people coming in and taking information.
Wow. What I found very big from both of you is the importance of the backup, because I would almost put dollars that most of the businesses out there don't realize or have not been doing backups. Right. Because it seems it's not about the hardware anymore. It's not about the software. It's really not about all the phasing and all that. If you have your backup, you're pretty much safe moving forward, and that's where that investment should be. So that would be the word that I would definitely put out there for today. So I want to thank both of you. Again, listen to the podcast again to get their information. These gentlemen know what they're talking about. That's why we brought them here for the Entrepreneurial Hour. But now I wanted to just bring on our lovely producer. She is the greatest, and she's always in the back scenes, so you guys never hear from her. But we have some special announcement coming up in October, and I wanted to bring her on today to talk about what's coming up in our community for everybody.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. So we had the idea with Robert and Stephanie, of course, to have the Entrepreneurial Hour Conference. We've seen a great success of this out of this radio show that we decided to create this Entrepreneurial Hour Conference, and we focus on the future of business. That's the theme of the conference, is the future of business. It's taking place on October 25th 5 at the Miramar Cultural Center, and it's a one-day conference. It starts at 8:30 a.m. and it's the whole day until 5 p.m. and we will have great speakers. We will have great panels and panelists. We are going to explore how we're moving forward in that aspect of business, how we're moving from a very individualistic way of doing business to a more collaborative, collectivistic mindset. So we're exploring themes like team building, like networking, that it's really important. We've seen it. We have, of course, Robert Galtz, who is the master of networking here in our community and our local community. We have already we have Luis Capó, who is the president of El Dorado Furniture, as one of our speakers, and more speakers are coming on board, and we invite all our local entrepreneurs to be part of this conference. We're closing the day with, this is my favorite part, we're closing the day with a networking hour. It's a networking hour that is going to take place at the Botanical Garden of the Miramar Cultural Center. And it's a great time for everyone to be able to network, to promote their services, their work, and to get to know each other in a better way.
And when they want to register, and how much is registration for that?
Yes, so registration is $15, $25, or $50. So this is a contribution. It's a registration fee, but it's a contribution towards a scholarship fund for Miramar local students that come to Unilatina International College. We're doing this conference in partnership with Commissioner Darlene Riggs, and that's the registration fee. They can register at any time. They can go to our website, unilatina.edu, and registrations are open.
Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited because, we just started. We're probably into our 12th, maybe, broadcast that we've done. Mm-hmm. And already we're doing this... a
big conference.
This big conference. And you can come out there, and I'm going to try to see if I can get some photos that I'll sign for people.
Yeah.
We're going to be rocking and rolling and having a great time. But one of the other things that we'll be doing with our other stations, we're going to be... broadcasting live that day, some of the things that are going on, and doing interviews with Stephanie, and I will be doing that, and we're really happy to be able to bring that to you. And a lot of great information. Unilatina has done a great job getting these things set up, and this is about your business. And in the process, what we're looking for, $15, $25, $50, it's a donation. And the reason is that you need to have skin in the game, and that money doesn't go back to us. It doesn't go back to the college. It goes towards scholarships for other people to learn about starting a business, and it's a great opportunity for you to come out. It's in October. We're looking for you to come out and sign up. And if you're coming out of town, you know what? I may even do something special. I'm going to think of something special that we'll do for the event. But again, it's going to be a great time to learn, a great time to share with others and network with other business people to build your business. So on behalf of myself and the missing Stephanie, who should be back with me next week, so we'll have a little bit more banter, because I got a lot of questions for her as she took a month off, folks, a month. So we'll be talking with her and having a great time, but just tune in next week. And again, you can always catch us on the podcast and look at all the information that we've given you in the past and what we'll give you in the future, always on the website for you, Unilatina's website. So definitely check in with us. Again, thank you for offering us this opportunity. Thank you, Unilatina College, for hosting us.
Thanks.
And we'll see you next week.
The Entrepreneurial Hour is sponsored by the Miramar Pembroke Pines Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Western Florida Chamber of Commerce, and the Pembroke Park West Park Chamber of Commerce.